Welcome, everybody out there. Grab a seat, get comfortable, and get started here in a couple seconds. I am just checking because I notice that my microphone, if anybody can hear me right now, can you just leave a little comment there in the sidebar in live chat? Because usually when I get started here, the microphone meter is moving and it's not moving right now. But we'll see. We'll get our technical issues sorted out here in a second, and we'll get started for some. Okay, great. Thank you, David. David, you have now become my tech support. Thank you. We'll forget YouTube not letting me know how things are going. The MJ, hey, I want, by talking about something today, we'll follow the usual format. I'm going to talk about something really quickly to share. Naveen, hey, how's it going? And then we'll get into some questions from Instagram as well as questions here on YouTube. So feel free to throw any questions there in the live chat. Of course, chat with each other, share support with each other, and then we'll wrap up things in about an hour. I've been seeing a lot of articles in the news. It's a very popular type of article right now, talking about how, given the current state of things all over the world, the pandemic that we're dealing with, so many people struggling, whether they're working in healthcare or in essential jobs, or they have family members really struggling, and of course, all sorts of people are out of work, businesses are struggling, and everything. And the type of article is often talking about how it's totally normal that you can't get stuff done at home, that you're finding it very difficult, and you're going through a traumatic experience. And absolutely, that it completely could be the case. But we also, when things are going really well, struggle to work from home, struggle to work on our own, struggle to handle any kind of big change. So consider, particularly as we're getting into what may be a prolonged, extended period of business not as usual, when you might be spending a lot more time either working from home or working in very different ways. Consider that it's not just because of the pandemic. I remember the first time when I realized that I was actually struggling with mental health issues. It came when I took some time off. I wasn't going to work. I was going to stay home and I was going to write a novel. Always wanted to write a novel. I had some money saved up. I had an opportunity, so I was going to do it. And 6 months later, I hadn't done anything. And even though I'd always been struggling with my mental health, it was actually that period of time where I stayed at home, where it was really just being with myself, that things just got worse and worse and worse and worse, eventually kind of exploding in what I finally realized was a real problem, right? I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. But I had never realized before that there were any problems that I was struggling with. Even though now, of course, I can look back and see that I was always doing those compulsions. But as long as I was, say, in a workplace, they seemed to work fine. Even though I would change careers, I would change jobs, I would change countries pretty much every year. And so, of course, because of that, because I was always doing those things and keeping that cycle going, there was never a pause to notice all of the things I was doing that were really unhealthy. When a pause did come, I then just doubled down on the compulsions and made things even worse. So, and that was at a time when everything was great. I was living in Vancouver at the time. It was actually mostly over a summer, spring, summer, absolutely beautiful times in Vancouver. So consider, absolutely, there's a lot going on in the world. You are dealing with a lot. There's a lot to handle. But you may start to notice, okay, now things are getting into a rhythm. You're handling what's going on, but productivity is not coming back. Motivation is not coming back. You're not doing the things you want to do. And that is totally normal and to be expected too. It's not because of the pandemic. it's not because of quarantine. These are practices, self-motivation, doing the things we want to do, cutting out compulsions, being with ourselves. These are things we all struggle with and that we all need to learn how to handle. So you may be in a situation where you're really going to benefit now from learning how to do things differently. So I'm just bringing this up to just be open to it, because absolutely I'm just seeing a lot of these articles and even seeing a lot of people posting on social media and being like, yeah, I don't have to do anything right now. Sure, I'm not becoming a pro baker and reading Tolstoy and recording Shakespeare soliloquies. Totally fine. Yeah, there's no pressure to do that. But if you notice that there are things you want to do and you're struggling to do them, that's also very natural. It's an opportunity, though, to look at how to do things differently. It's not something we can just say is due to the stress and trauma around us right now. It's something that everybody struggles with anytime, anywhere. And so, yeah, you're going to struggle with that now. So, but what is great is that it's all an opportunity to work on mental health skills. It's an opportunity to learn how to interact with the stuff in our head and do the things we want to do. And that's totally doable. It's just often most people have never been put in a situation where they have to learn those skills, because you get to go to work, everything, your schedule's set, you interact with lots of people. There's all sorts of things going on. Now there is not. And so now you get to become friends with yourself. Now you get to develop better mental health, and that can be a really great thing. So yeah, let us dive into the questions with that. I see there is already a lot of chat over on the live chat. That is awesome. I am going to cover some Instagram questions though first, and then I will pop back over to the live chat. So let's kick things off with a question here about depersonalization. We'll dive right in. We'll dive right into the deep end, because this is a simple question. Why is depersonalization so scary? And I find it helpful. So I struggled with a bunch of depersonalization. Again, one of those things I didn't realize was a symptom or an issue. And I just used to I had to do things like constantly check my license, constantly check pictures and try to figure out if they were me. I was always checking reflections to see if I was still me. I was always certain that I was actually somebody else, and that it was going to get found out, and I was going to end up in prison because I was somebody else. And so I was always checking things like that. And of course, depersonalization ends up being very scary, because also we might feel all of a sudden like, oh, I'm not me. I don't feel like me right now. But we think we should. Depersonalization is scary because of all of the compulsions we're always doing in our heads. Like, I shouldn't have this feeling. I should feel different. This should feel right. I should feel like me. It's really important to start to recognize that those are compulsions. Even when we're doing them all in our head, those are compulsions. Judging, comparing. It's the same if we were doing it outside of our head. Like we were picking up two different things and trying to see, oh, does this feel right? But we do it in our bodies. Oh, does this feel right? Is this how it felt before? Oh no, it shouldn't feel this way. And it's that judging, that unwanting, that creates the fear. So what we can do there is, one, cut out the compulsions, all of that checking, judging, comparing. We cut it out, but then we're left with that uncertainty. Like, what if I'm not me? What if this bad thing happens? What if this feeling doesn't go away? And that's the stuff that we can welcome. There's no reason that thought can't be there. Right? Okay, maybe I'm not me, and maybe this feeling won't go away, and I'm going to feel wrong. But what do I value doing right now? And I'm going to go and do that thing I value doing while having this feeling, because I know that the judging it and trying to get rid of it and push it away, that's where all the problems come from. So let's make space for that feeling. If you don't feel like yourself right now, great. If you feel like somebody else, yeah, invite that other person to come with you. And what are you going to go and do together? And we can be curious about that. What's it like to do something we value while not feeling like ourselves? How can we make ourselves into actions, not feelings? So I'm not chasing some right feeling about me. Me is what I do. And I can do those actions with any thought or feeling. And so speaking of compulsions in our head, next question from Instagram. I can't stop doing compulsions in my head. The thing that I found most useful when it comes to compulsions in our heads is recognizing that I was doing lots of compulsions around things in my head that I liked. And that was one of the best, easiest ways to start to learn how to cut out compulsions, was changing how I was interacting with thoughts I liked. Because basically I was teaching my brain. And so think of it this way. So the brain, it always helped me to think of the brain like a puppy. So your brain is like a puppy. And so you get this puppy and you teach the puppy that on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you want the puppy to jump up on you. You really like that. Oh, it's so great. That puppy loves you, has big floppy ears and big tongue, and jumps up on you, and that's fantastic. But you've decided that on Thursday and Friday, those are bad days for jumping. And you don't want the puppy to jump up on you on bad days. And so, Thursday and Friday comes around, and of course, what's the puppy do? It jumps on you. Because on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you rewarded it for jumping on you. And the puppy does not understand that you've judged Thursday and Friday as bad days for jumping. And so this happens with our brain. And so say a thought comes up that we really like, and maybe we think we're good at thinking about. So it might be something like buying a new cell phone. Thought pops in the head, hey, you need a new cell phone. And you know what? You're like, oh yeah, I love checking out new technology and figuring out the right technology. And in fact, all my friends, they always ask me for technology tips because I know, because I'm always on top of it. I'm always thinking of it, always checking, oh, what phone do you have? Oh, what features do you like on that phone? I'm always doing that. And so when I need to find a new phone, I spend hours, days thinking about it. I put together spreadsheets to like line up all the different features and phones and figure out the best one, checking different prices, going around asking for them, right? Spend a lot of time ruminating about it and trying to get it right. Avoid getting the bad thing that happens, but we like it. So that's what we do around a thought that we like. So then, and the brain's very aware, that's just a cell phone. It's a cell phone. Big deal, right? You're not going to die if you get the wrong cell phone. But then the brain throws up another uncertainty. Like, oh, what if you spread a disease to somebody? And now your brain is aware, oh no, like you'd feel really bad about that. If that goes wrong, oh, you're going to feel really terrible, and you don't want that guilt and you don't want that worry. And so your brain sees, here's another uncertainty. Here's an uncertainty it's going to jump on, right? Just like you taught it to jump on the other uncertainty about cell phones. And so the brain jumps on that uncertainty, right? We got to solve this. We've got to be certain about it. We've got to check and compare all of the different things we did to make sure we didn't spread a disease. The brain is only doing what we taught it to do. If I teach my brain to jump all over an uncertainty I like, the brain cannot stop itself from doing that around an uncertainty I don't like. And that's then how we get caught up in all of those mental compulsions. So something we can do that's really powerful is, and is actually kind of easier, because it's very difficult if we're trying to accept an uncertainty about, maybe killing people or that we're going to die or something like that. Is to start to work on uncertainties about things like cell phones. So when you're working on something like that, noticing how you think about groceries for the week, or think about a cell phone to buy, or think about what you're going to wear today, how do you start to teach your brain a different way of interacting with that uncertainty so that when your brain runs into another uncertainty, it knows what to do? Right? So if you don't like your brain jumping up on you on Thursday and Friday, don't teach it to jump up on you on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I had to think there about the days of the week because they all blur together now into one long day with some sleep periods in between. But there you go. That is something to think about. Actually, let's hold on to some of the Instagram questions. I know there's a lot of conversation happening over in the live chat. So I'm going to hop over here and I'm going to try to read through it. And maybe I'll just go to the very end and see if there's a question down there. But of course, everybody, if I miss a question, often it's not because I saw it and I was like, oh, I don't want to answer that. It's very difficult sometimes to see, to catch all of the questions in the live chat. So don't be afraid to post a question again. I won't tell you it's a compulsion. Maybe it is a compulsion, but we'll just gloss over that for now. And let's see. I'll see. So I look for the question mark. So also try to use punctuation. I know sometimes punctuation is difficult online. And I see a question here. First one pops out. It was super short. Alan, you asked, is meditation key right now? So there's kind of an implicit assumption in your question there that meditation is for for doing things, for getting something. And excuse me, I find it so important to approach meditation, and this is what's known in Zen meditation as a no gaining idea. So we're not meditating to get something. We're not meditating to gain something. And if we approach meditation that way, and actually whether it's mental fitness or it's physical fitness, if we approach it as, oh no, here's a problem, now I'm going to start to take care of my physical health or my mental health, that kind of reactive approach is always going to create more problems for us because it requires us to have a problem in order to do something healthy that's good for us. And so we want to do things that are beneficial to us all the time, not to gain something, not to get some solution, but simply because we like ourselves, because we care for ourselves. And so I wouldn't see meditation as any different right now than it would be at a time when everything is, I don't know, totally different. I mean, really, we have always existed in a world where there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people are struggling with obtaining financial resources and food and healthcare. People have always been struggling with illness and unexpected death and accidents, businesses failing, and all of the imaginable uncertainties. None of that has actually changed. So, like, I know my meditation practice has not changed at all, and meditation in general can be a really fantastic practice to build with no desire to get anything from it, simply for the practice itself. Let's hop over to another question. Vijay, so you say hi from Bangalore. Hello to Bangalore. Actually, I bumped our brain tech support live a bit earlier this week, keeping in mind that it was, this is a good time in India right now. This is like, it's nighttime, meaning because I know usually I put them a bit later and then everybody's asleep in India. So I figured this was a better to do it in the morning. We can catch our friends in India, hopefully maybe some of our friends in Australia too. It's getting a bit late there as well. We'll have to do some other morning ones later. I see somebody said, so everyone has to work on their mental health much more intensely now because you don't have any distractions. It's useful to recognize how we just come to rely in a very reactive way on stuff that's always being thrown at us. In the same way we do with our brains. It really helped me to recognize I kind of got hooked on things like intrusive thoughts and anxiety. One of the scariest days I've ever experienced in my life was the morning I realized I wasn't anxious about anything because I didn't know how to function. I didn't even realize that I'd spent my entire life really just anxious. And it was true. I was just always anxious about something. There was always some thought to fix. There was always some anxiety about something I needed to control. And the moment it's not there, because we've spent our entire lives relying on it, my brain gives me anxiety, my brain gives me intrusive thought, I fix it, and then I feel happy. The moment we have to build happiness and create our own happiness is something we're often very unprepared for. And it leads us into a relapse because we're like, whoa, I don't know how to exist without this thing I hate. I'm just going to go get back in the cage. Right? We develop Stockholm syndrome with it. And so it's really just important to be aware of this. I did an article on it on the site Unsinkable. I think you can find it on my site as well, I think, markfreeman.ca, or you can just Google Mark Freeman Unsinkable. And there's a article there on the difficulty that we run into when we actually achieve this thing that we think we're all looking for. But then we realize we're totally unprepared for it because we've built our lives around anxiety. Or in this case, now that people are working from home, they might realize, oh, I completely relied on, running into my coworker that I hate. And I would give a lot of time and energy, or my boss being like, oh, my boss sucks, and oh, this is wrong, and now I'm going to go tell people why this is wrong. And suddenly, when that's not there, we realize we don't know how to function. And so now you get to learn. See, Keshav, you're having strawberries, almond milk, and dark chocolate, playing a game with your friend. That sounds awesome. Enjoy that. I see a question. Arth, you asked about where is my desire now? I'm having HOCD. I have some more questions related to my somatic OCD. Oh, but so there aren't themes. Those are actually the exact same thing. And you'll often see them go together. HOCD, what people call HOCD, and somatic OCD, and there's a bunch of others, which I'm not going to mention now, because then people will go off chasing them. But there are themes go together because they're actually the same compulsion, right? And so a somatic OCD, where we're talking about physical sensations, we want to get them right. Again, we don't think they should be there. We want to control them. And the HOCD being like doubts about sexuality. Again, we want to get some, and you mentioned desire there. So if you're chasing this right feeling about desire, and then you start to check it and test it and try to control it, it's the exact same compulsion as you're dealing with somatic symptoms. And it's really useful to start to look at the pattern. It's about patterns of thinking and behavior. It's not about the particular topic. The brain will throw up whatever topic tricks you into doing the compulsion. So if it notices that you really like to do checking and controlling, chasing certainty, chasing feelings in a right way, it'll just give you whatever will get you to do that. And so we've got to practice accepting whatever uncomfortable feeling it throws up and not engaging in that checking and chasing and controlling compulsion. And instead, we get to give our time and energy to things we actually care about in life, which can be much more fulfilling. Uncertainties can be there. They really are just like clouds overhead. Like when we're saying, oh, I've got this uncertainty, it can't be there, I've got to figure it out. That's literally like going outside, seeing some cloud up in the sky and being like, oh no, that cloud is there, I can't live my life now. What can I do? I'm going to actually put everything on hold today. I'm not going to get into a relationship, can't go to work right now or do anything important because I have to fix this cloud because it shouldn't be there. And then I've got to, spend the day checking. Is it still there? Has it gone away yet? What's it mean if it's there? And that's the problem. The existence of the cloud is not a problem. But what we do when we interact with it, that's what creates the problems. But that's also what's great about that is that's what we actually can change. When we're trying to get upset about a thing we experience, like a cloud, a feeling, a thought, we really hand away all of our power. Because I'm now devoting my life to controlling something I don't control. And of course, that makes us miserable. That makes us more anxious because we're actually creating the very thing we're afraid of. We're often afraid of these things that the brain throws up. Like, oh no, what if this feeling never goes away? Or what if I'm never certain about sexuality or something like that? So it's going to interfere in my relationships. We're afraid of not being ourselves, of not getting to do the things we want to do in life. But the moment we devote all of our time and energy to fixing and controlling random experiences, we actually do throw away living our lives. Right? We're actually fulfilling this thing we're afraid of. And that's why it's so important to cut out those compulsions and give our time and energy to the things that we care about. Because, of course, the brain is going to worry about us not doing the things we want to do in life when that's what we're actually doing. Jeremy, you asked about how is your diet? So great question, because that was also a question on Instagram, which I'm just going to pull up here. And the question on Instagram was, what's the best diet for mental illness? Now, I'm assuming they meant not that they were looking for a diet for mental illness, but that they wanted to find a diet to get over mental illness or get rid of it. And but I would say in general, a diet is a great way to get a mental illness. And what happens is people get caught up in magical thinking. So we love magical thinking rather than make the changes. So again, this is like thinking about the cloud. Rather than make the changes in how I interact with the cloud, I want to find a magical diet, the right diet, right, where I can control that's going to get rid of the cloud. I'm going to find this special diet, and I'm going to devote all of my time and energy each day to counting macros and checking the ingredients and everything, and avoiding particular foods because those foods might create intrusive thoughts. Those foods might create clouds in the sky. And then I'm going to get caught up in this like kind of really complex ritual that is very socially accepted, right? I can share about my ritual, my food rituals online, and I'm going to try to control the clouds in the sky in my head. And at first, that can often seem like it's working. I think one of the things that people will often see, and you'll see people post about this on forums, like, oh, I completely switched. I cut out 50 million different foods last week, and like this week, my anxiety is so much less. But that's because they now have this new, really complex compulsion to give all their time and energy to, right? Just constantly checking macros, trying to avoid things, checking ingredients, controlling what they're doing, spending lots of time on food. And so they're not giving all of that time and energy to some other anxiety. So of course the brain loves this. It's got you. It's going to make you do all of these compulsions to get it right and to control these experiences. And so I find it's really important to watch out for that. There's a lot of businesses that will make a lot of money telling you that, if you eat this and you eat that, you're not, we're going to help you get rid of anxiety or prevent whatever. And so, but I am very, I don't know what I would describe, enthusiastic, maybe is the right word, that recovery is something you can do with any food. But I like to say, if you're a cookie away from relapse, you've got way bigger problems than what you're eating. So I mean, for me, I had a lot of food compulsions. And so for me, very much getting over mental illness involved learning how to eat a lot of things that I had never eaten before. And that was fantastic. And so I always encourage people to really start from what you value. What are the food resources that are going to help fuel doing the things you value? And you may decide on that journey that there are some foods, maybe like you don't need them, but it's because, you don't need them to fuel doing the things you value. Like right now, I don't cook meat at home, but that was totally like an environmental decision. And I still eat meat. Often if I'm out somewhere and like the best option on the menu is meat, I'll eat it. It's like, no, and that was, only something I did in the past year. So, 9 years into, 9 years since recovery, then I started to explore eating different things, but totally from an environmental perspective. And just because I could, it was like fun to explore. It was more of a project to like figure out how can I still meet my fitness goals while eating in a way that's good for my community. That was it. But I would never, ever, ever recommend a diet / eating disorder to try to magically control thoughts and feelings. Because I wouldn't see that as any different than any other magical thinking stuff. Do you know why when I'm hot, my OCD is worse? Is it because I feel uncomfortable? Exactly. One way you could look at any kind of mental health challenge is the brain is just throwing up stuff for us to control in situations where we don't control things. And right, it wants us to do something. And then like the recent video I put up on why do intrusive thoughts increase right now? Why might you be seeing things like fear, anger, anxiety increasing right now? Because there's lots of stuff happening around us we don't control. And so a compulsive set of behaviors like OCD is a way for the brain to kind of self-soothe. I see something over here that I don't know how to control. There's a big uncertainty. And so even like, it's hot, like I'm hot right now, fix this. Here, I'll control this. It's the same reason people will notice they'll do more compulsions when they're hungover or they're sick, right? The brain just sees, hey, there's something going on in my body I don't control something. And then we do lots of compulsions. Let's see what else we got happening over here. Hey, Mark, I just want to know your take on how recovery looks like. It's not something that must be answered for me, but I took care of all my fears with ERP and have felt days without any anxiety and days with some anxiety where I just say, hey, it's there, and do ACT methods. So for me, yeah, I describe recovery as the practice of being ourselves. And so what I would say, this is how I define mental health. It's the great mental health is the practice of being ourselves while having any thought or feeling. It can be really helpful to start to separate mental health from fixing some problem. And I find it's really important that people, as quickly as possible, see yourself as recovered and start to build mental health. It's the same thing we do in physical fitness. Like if you can picture somebody who keeps going to the gym because they think they need to fix their body, or they always see themselves as like, how many more weeks until I see myself as like physically fit? And if you always see yourself as a problem to fix, it's just exhausting. It really helps to shift to, I just want to build some skills. I just want to do more of the things I care about doing in life. And then to do that and to grow that. It's not about fixing drowning. It's about being a great swimmer. And if you're going to the pool to swim, you're a swimmer. You don't have to see yourself as having a problem anymore. You don't have to see recovery as this thing, this magic. I describe it as a magic crystal piss pot. Like you finish the race and there's some kind of finish line and they're going to hand you this special trophy, which is just a bedpan made out of crystal. And then you're terrified of dropping it or anything like that. Make it about what you want to do. It can really help to step away, to walk off the battlefield. If we stay on the battlefield, we require our enemy. If we see success as winning a battle, you always need enemies. And so then if you always want to check, right, you want to test to make sure that you're recovered, well, then you always need a problem again. And then you get to solve it. It's that kind of that addiction to the anxiety, the Stockholm syndrome I was talking about earlier. We have to be willing to step away and build something amazing, separate from mental illness. And that's totally doable. And I would say that's very much about how I approach mental health now. Like I'm not thinking each day, like, how am I going to manage recovery? How am I going to build recovery? Like it's just not a thing that factors in. I look at how I want to spend my time and energy in life. And I do that. And that is very enjoyable because, yeah, it'd be really annoying to like just have this problem around all the time that I got to fix. So enjoy building great mental health. I see you're over in Macedonia. Enjoy building great mental health and fitness in Macedonia. Salvatore, you said that during meditation to recover from OCD, it is best if you do not focus on your breath or anything in particular, just sit and watch your thoughts. Do you have any other exercises? So actually, I don't think I would have said to watch your thoughts. I would recommend watching your breath more than I would suggest watching your thoughts, because the reason, so when you're sitting down to meditate, it can really help to knock down the importance of thoughts. Thoughts and feelings are one of the things we can sense. And so I expand the senses that we have. So we can experience thoughts and feelings. We can experience physical sensations. We can experience sounds and tastes and smells and things we see. It's really useful to put thoughts and feelings on the same level as all of those others. So it's not about, I'm going to sit down to meditate, and then there are all of these physical senses, and then there's these cognitive ones. And these cognitive ones are somehow important, and I've got to fix them through meditation. And I'm just kind of scared of them, and I'm going to watch them. It can really help to say to the brain, oh no, like that's a thing I can pay attention to. Just like right now I can hear birds outside. I mean, I could also pay attention to the birds. I could pay attention to the thoughts and feelings, but instead I'm going to choose to just sit here. All of those experiences are going to be on the same level. If you're starting out in meditation, the reason you may see, and even I do this when I'm teaching meditation at first, something like following the breath, is it gives you a sense to follow. So we say, okay, we're going to pay attention to the physical sensation of our chest moving in and out. And the reason for that is so that we can give the brain something else to point to. Because the brain, yeah, wants to go and be like, oh, but what about this? What about this? Hey, what about this thought? What about that feeling? Because we've spent so much time giving importance to thoughts and feelings above all of our other senses. Paying attention to the breath is an opportunity to knock down its importance and say, yeah, I could pay attention to thoughts and feelings, but this is really cool right now. I'm just going to notice how my chest rises. Maybe I'm going to pay attention to the point at the end of my nose where the breath enters my body and leaves my body. And so there's an exercise maybe for everybody right now. Can you find the point at the end of your nose where your breath enters and leaves your body? Right? Like where, like physically, where is it? Where's the exact spot? And the thing is, by trying to find the exact spot where the breath enters and leaves your body, again, it gives your brain something to do. So if you're starting out with meditation, you're probably going to find it helpful to give your brain things to do. Again, think of it like a puppy. It's like holding a treat for the puppy. And kind of saying, hey, puppy, like come over here. We're going to look at this. Because if you just leave the puppy to do whatever it wants, of course, it's going to go dig up some dead memory from the backyard and drag it in and present it to you. So go find the exact spot where the breath enters and leaves your body. And I mean, if you find it, let me know. I have no idea where it is. Somewhere up there. I think. I'm gonna check out what else is happening over here on the live chat. Luca, how can I handle intrusive thoughts that pop up whenever I do an activity like walking through a door and making me redo the action 1,000 times? So don't redo the action. That's the way out of it. Yeah. And you can see though how we initially see this as something being about intrusive thoughts. Like these intrusive thoughts make me redo the action. And it's really useful to start to take back that power. You're in charge of what you do. And you can have a thought just like you can hear a bird outside as you walk through a door. And it doesn't have to mean anything. What you can start to do, and so this is like I often like to explore this kind of stuff with clients, and you can explore this stuff at home, is to start to look at what's going on in terms of what I call the judgment machinery in your head. So you walk through and there's an intrusive thought, and right now you're judging that as meaning something, judging it as important, and judging your redoing the action as having meaning. So really start to look at all of that stuff. We develop all sorts of beliefs that aren't very helpful to us. Like, oh, if I walk through this in a particular way, I've fixed it or I've done it right. And we can really start to take a step back and identify those. Like you might find it useful to write them out. Like when I'm going through a door and I redo it, what exactly am I telling myself? What do I believe? And we just take those for granted. We accept them as true facts. If I have an intrusive thought, I must redo this. And if I do it with a particular type of thought, then it is correct. It's really useful to start to challenge those. Ask, are these beliefs useful to me? Is it useful to me to attach meaning to these various things? Where else do I attach meaning to stuff like thoughts in my life in ways that I like? Where I might do something and I have a good thought. So now I'm like, oh, that was so good because I had the right thought when I did it. So now I'm really excited. But through that excitement, I'm just teaching the brain, oh, it's really bad if I don't have that good thought or right thought. So we want to start to kind of detach those meanings that we stick on everything and really break apart that judgment machinery and develop a machine for interacting with the world that is much more useful to us. So for now, though, enjoy not re-walking through the door. And yeah, be curious about it. See what you discover as you're doing that. You'll probably find all sorts of things that you can apply in other areas as well. Let's do another question from Instagram. I see we got about 20 minutes left. This also on cutting out compulsions. Doing ERP. Any tips to help with checking and reassurance during the process? So I picked this one because I'm seeing a lot of questions about ERP recently and getting messages from people that are very similar to this, where it'll say like, oh, I'm doing ERP, but what should I do about all the checking and reassurance that I'm doing? And really start to consider you're probably not doing ERP. Well, in fact, like I could see, like you're not. And I think, I don't know if my theory is that because we get so caught up in compulsions that we, and we don't want to cut them out. So a lot of people have started to share online about doing ERP, but what they're sharing online is just a way of doing compulsions and not cutting out compulsions. Because we like this idea that, oh, I'm gonna expose myself to a thing that makes me anxious, and if I do that enough, the cloud that I hate in the sky is gonna go away. So it's that magical thinking again. I do this ERP ritual, and the cloud is going to go away. And people aren't actually doing ERP, because ERP would be cutting out the checking and reassurance compulsions. If you're not cutting out the compulsions, you're not doing ERP. It's not like you do ERP and then there are these compulsions you do later, and you're hoping that they'll go away by doing the ERP ritual. That is not how it works. So to give an example of what we were just talking about there with Luca's example of walking through the door, an intrusive thought pops up, and then the brain is like, "Oh, you've got to go back through that door and fix it." ERP is not going back. So you're going to carry on and you're going to do something you value, right? The exposure was when the intrusive thought came up. You're exposed. The anxiety is that your brain's like, you've got to go back and fix that. And then the response prevention is when you don't go back and fix it, right? You don't go back to check. You don't go back to get reassurance. You don't go back to control it. ERP isn't a ritual that you do to just like repeat stuff in the hope that repeating stuff is going to make your intrusive thoughts go away, or make a feeling go away, like anxiety or horrible images or whatever. And that's really how you can tell if you're doing it as a compulsion. Really look at, like, what's a compulsion? When you do something again and again to chase a right feeling or to fix something that you've decided is like an unwanted experience. There's nothing different between somebody who worries that, oh no, like my door might be unlocked and something bad could happen, so I'm going to go and check all of the locks in the house and do a particular ritual and put my phone in a particular place and all of this stuff, and then I'm going to feel calm. Then I can go to bed, right? Good, I got rid of the clouds. If you're then approaching ERP as like, okay, I'm going to write out all these horrible things over and over again so I can check to make sure, I don't know, I feel in a particular way so that I'm going to control these feelings and make them go away. I'm gonna get habituated, right? And then no more anxiety, no more intrusive thoughts. You're doing the exact same thing. So don't do ERP as a compulsion. And that was another question from Instagram. Can you get compulsive about stopping compulsions? So something that I strongly recommend to everybody, and I found this so important, is to make compulsions okay. There is just how we spend our time and energy in life. And so this is, again, about that shift from always trying to like solve problems and fix problems, that kind of problem-solving monster in our head, to making mental health about building and creating and doing the things we value. If we're constantly afraid of doing compulsions and we judge them and we hate them, right? We stick meaning on them. Oh no, I did a compulsion, so that means I'm going to relapse, or I haven't recovered. Oh no, I dropped the big crystal piss pot. It's broken. Now I have to do the race all over again. I have to start from the beginning and then build up, again, this perfect recovery. If we do that, then we'll just always be doing it, right? Always, over and over again, this kind of yo-yo, a yo-yo relapse recovery thing, disaster. It's really helpful to see that we only ever have this moment. And so again, this is one of the reasons why I don't find it useful to think about recovery as a thing. I only ever have this moment. And if I noticed in the previous moment that I was doing something I don't want to do, again, it's not about like, oh, it's a compulsion or not. It's like, if I was spending my time and energy in the previous moment in a way that I don't want to, it is wonderful that I can recognize that. If you can see that and you're like, wow, I was just, spending all this time just thinking about a thing, trying to chase some right feeling, obsessing about the end of the world. Do I really want to spend my time and energy on that? No. So how do I want to spend my time and energy in this moment? And then you get to go and do it. Because if we look at, so much of mental illness and struggling with mental health is just hating an experience and wanting to control it and fix it. And if the new experience we hate is doing compulsions, then it just becomes the new thing to do compulsions around. We've got to like be really scared and afraid of compulsions because they'll lead to some bad thing. And yeah, then again, it's just the same thing. It's just like that person checking the door lock because they're afraid of a bad thing happening. And we just start checking compulsions. We're trying to, I got to make sure I don't do any compulsions. If I do compulsions, bad things will happen. And no, we just have this moment. You just have this moment. As soon as we're done this, got about 15 minutes left, you're going to have a moment. And you don't have to think of yourself as having some label stuck on you, some diagnosis. We'll all be in that moment. And we'll all get to choose how we spend our time and energy. And we can all choose to spend our time and energy on something we care about. And that's the only thing we ever have to decide. I see somebody asked, have you felt any pull towards compulsions in the current situation? And so I said, no. So, and of course, like I just said, compulsions would be fine. It'd be fine if I did. But like I said, like my introduction to mental illness struggles was working on my own. When I published my book a couple of years ago, that was kind of the culmination of all the skills I've been building because I had to stay at home. And kind of twice I wrote the mind workout for the UK. And then when it was purchased in the US, kind of redid it for the US market. So twice I've worked entirely from home, writing and then following through to publishing a book. And for the last couple of years, I've worked from home on my own, working with people, right, often every day on dealing with really difficult challenges. So for me, this is really the same practice. Making sure that I still work out and create and connect with people and take care of where I am, and nothing has changed. And I find that's really important. And so, yeah, again, to what I was talking about at the very beginning, if you're thinking right now, like, oh, this is so different, and therefore I should do all of these compulsions because it's different. This is not different. And the brain loves to do that. It always loves, and you see that all the time. Maybe we learn how to cut out compulsions around one thing we're doing, and then the brain moves. Maybe it comes up with like a real physical sensation, right? That's super common. Deal with all the mental compulsions, and then we start to notice some physical pain or discomfort coming up all the time. And then we start to do compulsions because we're like, well, it's different. And then we realize later, oh, I'm doing the exact same thing again. The brain loves to play on the idea that things are different. This is special. This is unique. What you have is something you need to do compulsions around. And then we just end up in the exact same spot. So watch out for that right now. The Mia, you just said, I can't calm my restless mind while meditating. I can't seem to sit and just be, as if I didn't know how to exist. It's scary. So I would just practice being with that, because this is that opportunity, like, to look at what's scary about it. So yeah, so what if you don't know how to do that? So why not be curious about that? I did the last video up on my channel is meditation practice about being curious about uncomfortable feelings. So I would say check that out and try that out while you're meditating. It's all about meditating and being curious about discomfort, which can be a great thing to practice on. Totally normal. I think, again, we get this idea that we shouldn't feel a particular thing in our heads. And it's that shouldn't. This shouldn't be there. I need to control this. This means things. That's the real issue, not the clouds that we're judging. I'm just going to see, we got any other questions over here? We can start to, if I missed any questions, throw them down there. I see everybody's having a good discussion with each other, which is awesome to see. And otherwise, oh, Pradeep. You say, sometimes we get so tangled in negative emotions, we just want to avoid them at any cost, even when we know it's not healthy. the brain just throws automatic worst case scenarios we can't accept. So I would look at like why you think you can't accept it. And that's the stuff that I'd start to dig into, because you can accept it. It can just be there. The worst, because it is just brain stuff. That might be the other thing to look at. Why do you see the stuff the brain throws up as kind of like real and important? Because it helped me to recognize my brain is just a random person shouting in the street. And sometimes, maybe occasionally, a person shouting in the street does say something useful, but generally, that's not the case. And so I find it way more useful to just take a blanket approach that all brain stuff is the same. My brain is going to throw up stuff, and it doesn't have to have any more meaning than that bird singing out in the tree out there. It's nice. It's great. That's what it does. The brain throws up stuff. It's so creative and imaginative. It can think of all these worst case scenarios. That's wonderful. But I don't have to think that means anything. And I see actually even head budgie. Yeah, you mentioned the tip to tell yourself the worst thing has already or will happen. That helped me so much to just accept that it's done. Like that's where I would look at acceptance. Just accept, if I'm worried that I might have been poisoned and I want to do all sorts of checking around that, well, just say no. Like I've already been poisoned. I'm already going to die tomorrow. So do I want to spend my last day spending all my time and energy like checking and trying to control something I can't control? No, I want to spend my last day doing things that I value. So I'm going to put my time and energy towards that. I love that trick. I always found it really helpful to play around with. Patrick, you asked a question here. How do you do ERP in real time? So I would say that's the only way to do it. When I'm living my life organically and a fearful thought pops into my mind, should I double down on ignoring the thought or double down and saying, I will do that thought? So I would, no, like the compulsion is to really, put the cloud in charge of our lives. So if your brain throws up a thought and you're living your life, the ERP exercise is to not engage with the thought, but to keep doing the thing that you really care about. And so if you've already noticed, so that trick I just described there, just accepting that the bad things already happened, I find that's most helpful if you notice that you've already started to engage with it. The thought has popped up and already you've noticed, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I did. Well, what if, I'm going to try to remember if I did do that thing or not. Once we already notice that we're engaging with it, then I find it's great to just go to the worst possible scenario. Because we've already started to engage with it. Okay, well, let's end the debate. Okay, it's happened, the worst possible thing. Everybody's going to die. Let's get back to living our lives. If you haven't started to engage with it yet, and what you can start to look at, I would say to everybody proactively, and we'll say as we're coming to the end, this is maybe another exercise you can try out today, is going into a situation with the intention to give your time and energy to the thing you care about. So going into a situation, here's what I care about doing. And practice proactively giving your time and energy to that, giving your awareness to that activity you want to do. Again, it's like with the puppy. So you've gone into a situation and you're showing the puppy, your brain, what you want to pay attention to. And you'll find that makes it much easier to not engage with an intrusive thought that pops up at all. Because you're already showing the dog where you want to take it. And then, something over there tries to take its attention, but it already has something to do. And so you notice, a thought, it's more brain stuff, but look, I've chosen to give my time and energy to this thing. So it's a thought. Who cares? Like engaging with it is the problem. And I'm going to give my attention to this. So that's why I always describe those as the two tricks, right? So one, like you can take it to the worst possible scenario, works fantastic, end the debate. And the other trick is to just, there's brain stuff and I've got something else I want to do. So to everybody out there, play around with those and see what happens. You're welcome, Patrick. And then, I see Quirt, you just said shouldn't engage with the content of thoughts. Exactly. And so, sometimes we do. That's fine too. Again, we don't have to get upset about compulsions. And then we can just find that way to bring our time and energy, our attention back to the things that we care about. Make it about that. It's so important that we keep that focus on what we want to build and create. It's easy to hate. It's always going to be easy to be like, oh, I have this problem with a mental illness. I've got to fix it. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate the things my brain is doing. That's very easy, right? Because when we're creating and building, we have to do that. The brain will just give you things to hate, give you things to occupy your time. Here, you've got free time right now. Go spend an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours researching online about this intrusive thought. And we often do it. We quickly go, oh, I've got to fix this. But if you were to say, spend 5 hours to create something that's going to be really impactful in your life and the lives of others, we don't always know where to begin. And so a lot of the work we do is about shifting away from relying on the easy hatred that your brain can throw up to building and creating something you want to give, something you want to give to the world, something you want to give to yourself and to those around you. And I would see so much of what's helped me, and I would say, and with maintaining mental health and not relapsing was not making it about fighting something. It was about growing something and doing the things I wanted to do. Then figuring out okay, how do I stay at home and write a book? And that just means, okay, well, there's all these things I'm doing in my head and doing outside of my head. I can't do those if I want to write a book. I can't do those if I want to share mental health tools with people. So they just have to go. It's not about them being bad. It's just about they weren't compatible with spending time on the things that I really want to do. Getting caught up in, is this world real? Am I real? All of these things, these fears that I was stuck on, that just spending time on them wasn't going to help me do those things I really wanted to do. And I see a question there right at the end. Can I do a video about magical thinking? It's all about magical thinking. I might do a video sometime just to show how all of the videos I already have up are about magical thinking. But again, don't get stuck on the idea that it's different. That's the thing the brain loves to do. Judging things as different things, seeing things as not applying. And then so I see a question. Can you talk more about the fear of going crazy? I'm going to read the rest of the question here. I've had it for almost 10 years. It goes, but then it always comes back. This fear stems from my mother being like that. Fear of delusions. So one thing the fear of going crazy, this is a great one to end on. The fear of going crazy. So one, if you're visiting this channel, you're watching these videos, you're reading my books, they are about mental health. And so although I would say that mental health is something absolutely everybody needs to take care of, because everybody has a brain, everybody, unless you're already actively taking care of your mental health, you have bad mental health. If you're watching these videos, welcome, you are crazy. Congratulations. You no longer have to fight it or be afraid of it. And now you have this opportunity to put your time and energy towards the things you value, and to do the things you care about. And while welcoming any intrusive thought, any feeling, any fear, any delusion, any voice, any memory, real or unreal or otherwise. It's all about recognizing that we have power here. We can take back that power and have any brain stuff while we live our lives. And that's something we can do. And it's not about seeing, these labels and these diagnoses as some kind of state we're trapped in. We have that opportunity to be ourselves and to practice trusting ourselves. And so that's what I would always do with that fear, any kind of health fear, which that is, saying, okay, well, you know what? I'm afraid of losing control. How do I start to show my brain that actually I've got power? Yep, you know what? I'm going to have that. Whatever that thing is I'm afraid of already happened. And look, now in this moment, I'm going to choose to do something I value. Okay. So for everybody. And I just got to say, Joe and Patrick, I saw, yeah, your donations. Thank you so much. It's such a big support for doing this work. So thank you. I'm really glad you find these Q&As useful and the video is helpful. I mean, yeah, I started making these videos because when I was working on recovery, like I'd go online, I'd get these therapy exercises in therapy, and then I'd go online and be like, oh, like nobody's talking about these. Like nobody, like how do you do them? What's it like in real life? And so I started, yeah, that's why I started to make these videos. And so I'm really glad everybody else, as you're working on these challenges too, that you find them useful. And so, yeah, Joe, Patrick, thank you so much for donating and helping out. I really appreciate the support. To everybody else, I appreciate you coming together today and joining and sharing your questions. It is always awesome, especially right now when a lot of us are spending a lot of time at home, that we can come together from all over the world and work on these shared challenges. We really see how we have the same brains, even though we live in very different places. We're all working on the same challenges. So to everybody this week, as you're working on the challenges you're tackling, I wish you so much fun and adventure and energy with them, and enjoy building, enjoy creating. And yeah, of course, as always, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to get in touch, send them on over, and I will see you all soon. So thank you. Hope everyone has a great start to your week. Thank you so much for the support and the love. Enjoy, everybody. Goodbye.